Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Base Live event. I am Liz Prue, VP of Marketing at Base, and I am so excited for today's guest. We have Peggy Vasquez with us. Hello, Peggy.
Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. Everyone, Peggy is an international speaker, best-selling author, and coach whose mission is to empower others to succeed. And in today's session, she'll share techniques that you can implement to push through self-doubt and build a healthy dose of confidence. And before we went live, we were talking about this and how this time of year, particularly with this year, even pandemic aside, it's just been one of those years. And so I'm very excited to bring this to you all because Peggy is just in the few conversations I've had with her, you are such a positive light and you are very inspiring. And I'm so excited for our viewers to get to listen to you and learn from you today.
Oh, thank you, Liz. I truly appreciate the invitation and I'm excited too. I mean, this is one of my favorite topics. And I think it's something that at our core, we know how important it is, but for some reason we don't talk about it. So let's talk about it today.
Exactly.
I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation and let's get on the topic, right?
Okay. I will be the woman behind the curtain, everyone. So make sure feed your questions in. We will have Q&A at the end. But I'm gonna go behind the curtain and let Peggy do her thing.
Thank you, Liz.
Yes, of course.
I want to just say welcome to all of you. I'm delighted to be with you today. My goal is to help you increase your confidence and not just to work through self-doubt, but to conquer it. This is a workshop, so I hope that you came prepared to work. That means you need to have a pen and paper. You need to be open-minded and participate, stay engaged, use chat. And we're going to have time for Q&A at the end. I want to hear from you. The more you participate, the more engaged you are, the more you're going to get out of the workshop. Right out of the bang, I've got 3 questions for you. Number 1, do you want to believe in yourself? Raise your hand up. Hi, even though I'm not there with you in person, pretend you're right in front of the front row of the audience. Do you want to believe in yourself? Hands are up, right? Do you want to be happy? Yes. Biggest question. Do you want to love your work and get paid what you're worth? Yes. So what's holding you back? What's holding you back? My guess it's about fear and confidence. So many people are afraid they'll make a mistake, afraid they'll mess up somehow, afraid that they'll look stupid, which in reality, how often does that really happen? Yet it's a fear. The first step towards building confidence is to identify your fears. Right now on that piece of paper, write down 2 to 5 things that you're afraid of. 2 to 5 things that's holding you back. I'm going to pause just for a quick minute to let you write that down now. When you see your fears written out, it helps you to be aware of what that fear really looks like. And is it coming from this emotional state or is it coming from a logical state? Take a look at your fears. What is it that you're afraid of? The second step towards building confidence is to know your strengths, because when you know your strengths, you feel confident. Life is full of challenges, and we have learned that this year big time. There are times when you're doing your work, you're in it to win it, but yet it seems like nothing you're doing is going well. It seems like everything you're touching is just turning out wrong. When you're having one of those days where you're feeling like that capital L loser, you need a reminder about how great you are. One of my coaches taught me about an empowerment board. Here's how it works. You ask 5 friends, colleagues, customers, clients. You ask 5 people to describe you with 5 positive words. The only rule is that they're positive and objective. Here's a picture of how my clients, my colleagues, my friends described me. It hangs on my office wall. I'm looking at it right now. And when I look at those words, I'm reminded of how people described me. I'm reminded what my strengths are. And it helps me to feel great about myself again. So to help you get started with your empowerment board today, I'm going to give you 1 minute to write down how people describe you. How does your manager, your peers, your friends, your customers describe you? Go ahead and write down those words. How do they describe you? And share one thing in chat now. Liz, do me a favor and read off the things that people are saying.
Yes. We have some coming in now. There is a couple second delay, so I'll give you all a few moments. One user on Facebook says, be agile and resourceful.
Nice.
Another says positive, go-getter, helpful, awesome, creative, calm, results-oriented.
Those are great. Those are great. I encourage you to create your own empowerment board. Ask 5 friends, colleagues, customers to describe you with 5 positive words. And yes, ask your manager too. So often we don't know what people think of us unless we ask. And when we know what they think of us, it helps to increase our confidence. Striking a healthy balance between too much confidence and too little confidence can be challenging. Too much confidence and you come off as Ron Burgundy from Anchorman. None of us want to come across that way. But too little confidence holds us back. It holds us back from seizing those opportunities and taking risk. The best advice I've ever received is to stay humble and outwardly focused. Humble and outwardly focused. The reality is, you are a big deal. To put how great you are into perspective, the odds of you being born were 1 in 400 trillion. Being born in the particular time you were born, 1 in 400 trillion. You are absolutely a big deal. There's no doubt about it. Here's the thing. You don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. All too often, administrative professionals think that they have to have all their ducks in a row before they take action. But you've got to act before you feel like you're ready, before you know exactly what to do. You can ask any successful person you know if they felt 100% ready when they got started. And I bet they'd all say no. You've got to take action before you feel like you're ready too. Action does not come from confidence. Confidence comes from action. You've got to move past your feelings and get outside of your comfort zone. I know you hear getting out of your comfort zone all the time. But if you want things to change, you've got to actually do it. This is absolutely critical. I guarantee you the first 3 seconds of trying something new, especially when you don't feel like you're ready, are the worst. Just 3 seconds, lean into it for 2 more seconds and you'll get there. You'll never get stronger doing the easy things. Easier isn't always better. And guess what happens when you don't have confidence and you act anyway? Courage. Courage takes over. The third way to build confidence is to get out of your comfort zone by taking action and trying something new before you feel like you're ready. When we stay in our comfort zone by our familiar routine, we don't get to experience our ability to grow, our experience to develop and become the person we want to be. The less that we experience outside of our comfort zone, the more scared we become of what could happen if we were to just take one little step outside of our comfort zone. You know what I think we should call the comfort zone? We should call it the dead zone, because nothing happens there. It's like living your life same old Groundhog Day. Nothing changes if you don't change, if you don't get outside your comfort zone. You've got to break free from the walls of your comfort zone. Whether or not you succeed is actually less important than trying. When you don't succeed on the first time, you actually grow more confidence. by going through the framework for success, which is try, fail, learn, repeat. That's the framework. It's not try and succeed. It's try, fail, learn, and repeat. So I have a question for you. You guys want to know a dirty little secret? How many of you are like me, and at some point in your life, you didn't feel that you were good enough? When I ask my audiences this question, it's an overwhelming 90% or higher. The huge, dirty little secret is that we all feel this way, at least at some point in our life. The fear of not feeling good enough is one of the deepest fears that every single person on the planet has. This is why coaching and mentoring are so critical. If you listen to your thoughts, it all boils down to one thing: I suck, right? When you take all those thoughts that are going through your head, telling you you're not good enough, that's what it boils down to. I want you to know that if you feel this way, you're not alone. We all have it. We all have it. Those I'm not good enough thoughts don't get away from us no matter how old we get, how successful we are. They come up and they'll continue to come up. And I've got techniques to deal with those thoughts. I'm going to share 2 right up front, and then we're going to share more towards the end. When those dirty little thoughts come up, say, thanks for sharing blankety blank. Call that person that's spewing out that negativity to you, whatever name you want, and then get back to going after your dreams, doing your work with a purpose. When you say thanks for sharing, it dismisses a thought. It pushes it away from you. And then that helps you to be able to pivot to a new stream of thought, a positive thought. When our thoughts are turned inward, we can get into a cycle of doubt. But when we turn our focus outward, our outlook completely changes. It's no longer about you. That's one of the things I learned big time from one of my coaches, is understanding that it's not about us. It's about others. It's about serving other people. Think about the client that you're serving. Think about the great work that you're doing. Put the attention outward instead of on you, and you'll be able to silence the negativity too. Sometimes when you're at home or sitting in your office, sitting at your desk, you think that you're the only one that's missing the mark, the only one. And then you come to a session like today and you realize you're not alone, that we're all dealing with this thought of not feeling good enough. And so many of us are chasing after perfection. Now listen, perfectionism is really painful. It keeps you from producing and sharing your gifts. It takes this huge toll on your productivity, and in the extreme, it can actually be deadly. There's tons of research out there that tells you that going after perfectionism causes severe mental and physical issues. Perfectionism isn't just a destructive way of thinking about your work. It's a destructive way of thinking about yourself, because it's rooted in this false notion that you're not good enough, that you don't have what it takes, that whatever you're producing or whatever you're sharing or whatever you want to put out into the world, somehow it's inadequate. Is perfectionism holding you back? Now, a lot of people say, well, Peggy, do you struggle with this? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I've been in the administrative profession. I had a career in that profession for over 30 years. I struggled with it there. I also struggle with it in my speaking business. So some of you may have known that I wrote this book, Not Just an Admin, several years ago. And then this year, I put out the second edition. And I'm telling you, the whole time that I was writing that book, I was having to deal with the struggle, thinking, is the book good enough? Is anyone going to read it? Will anyone want to buy it? I mean, the struggle is real. I think that this voice stays with us, and the joy comes when you don't take it seriously, when you think about it as this universal mind, and that you don't have to give it authority. You don't have to let it rule you. Instead, just keep going. Here's my second technique, a mantra called progress, not perfection. Instead of trying to get things perfect, which, listen up, it's totally unachievable. You're not going to hit perfection, so let it go. Your metric is progress. Have you learned something? Have we pushed this project ahead even a little bit? I'll tell you this, even when you fall on your face, even when you skin your knees, even when you have a temporary failure, that's still progress. We need to look at progress differently. Progress is key. We have this mistaken notion in life that progress is like we have this goal. It's that straight line, right? The success straight line. Like we start with this goal and we work and then boom, 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 we hit it. But that's complete total BS. That's not how progress works. Here's how progress works. Progress is like you start here, you have your goal, you work, you take one step forward, you take another step back, you do this whole squiggly line thing, and then finally you reach your goal. Or you may reach another one because you learned something along the way. That's what progress actually looks like. So when we strive for progress and not perfection, all of a sudden you produce a lot more work and it becomes a lot more fun. Taking ourselves less seriously, focusing on progress, not perfection, that's how we dismantle thinking we're not good enough. Avoid the comparison trap. Every time you compare yourself to somebody else, you feel less than. Every single time. So stop comparing yourself to other people and instead compare yourself to who you were yesterday, who you were last January compared to now. Compare yourself to all the things that you've learned, that person before you learned it. You know, I need to change the slide to make it say comparison crap, because that's actually how you feel when you compare yourself to somebody else. Stop telling yourself that all of those people that you admire, that you respect, are perfect, because nobody is perfect. And no matter how great they look on the outside, if you were able to pull that curtain back, you would find out that we all have our own unique challenges. We're all going through something, every single one of us. Nobody is perfect. I love this quote by Barry Davenport. Low self-confidence isn't a life sentence. Self-confidence can be learned, practiced, and mastered just like any other skill. And then once you master it, everything in your life will change for the better. Confidence is a skill, not a trait, not something you were born with. This is good news because if it's a skill, that means you can learn it. Just like you learned every other skill, just like you learned all these virtual platforms this year, just like you've learned Outlook and Microsoft Office Suite and Google and all those things that you've learned, the skill to be able to partner with your manager, the skill to be able to read people, the skill to be able to diffuse those difficult conversations. If you've learned all those, you can learn confidence too. When you think of all the amazing, successful people that you know, they got there by working through self-doubt. Take Lady Gaga, for instance. She not only had haters and trolls on Facebook, you know, people who put negative comments out there and talk horribly about you. No, she had it worse than that. She had Facebook groups that were created for the purposes of rallying against her. Two of them, all to try to tear her down, to stop her from becoming the mega superstar that she is today. In her award-winning speech, she reminded us that it's not about winning or how many times you get rejected. It's about how many times you stand up and show courage. Even the queen of TV, Oprah Winfrey, was told that she was unfit for TV. Oprah, can you imagine what our world would have been like without Oprah? She's put so much inspiration and empowerment and knowledge into our world today. But what if she would have given up? What if she didn't work through her self-doubt? We would have missed out on all the gifts that Oprah had to give. It's the same way for you. You have these unique gifts, talents, capabilities that only you have. And if you're too afraid to share them with this world, we're going to miss out. Whether you fail or whether you succeed is completely upon your willingness to take the risk. If you've heard me speak before, you've probably heard me talk about building a powerful inner circle. That is number 4. And I truly believe it's the strongest method for building confidence. You need a group of people that are behind you, that have your back in good times and bad. The people who will celebrate you when you've done something amazing, and the people who will lift you up. The people who will defend you to the bitter end when they hear somebody talking smack about you. People who will come alongside you when you're having your pity party. You know, when you're laying on the sofa, watching your favorite TV program and you're eating your bonbons, you've got your favorite beverage in hand, just crying, having one of those time frames, right? They'll let you have that pity party for a moment, but then they'll come alongside you with love and kick you off that sofa, help you to adjust your crown and remind you of who you are so that you can get back on track. You can get back on track going after your dreams with a purpose. There are people who inspire you, empower you, and encourage you to become the best you that you can be. So here's how this works. You write down at least one name for the 6 areas of your life, somebody that you respect and admire for each of these 6 areas. I'm going to give you just a few moments to do that now. A person you respect and admire for each of these 6 areas. So often, administrative professionals put themselves at the bottom of their list. And that's why number 1 is health. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else. Make sure you have identified someone that you respect and admire, that you believe they've got their health all figured out. They're paying attention to what they eat, what they drink, how much they move their body. They're going to their doctor appointments on a regular basis. They're putting their health at the top of their list. So one more moment to write down someone that you respect and admire in each of these areas.
And Peggy, while they're doing that, we had a couple folks jump in late. If you wouldn't mind just repeating steps 1 and 2 for their notes. Yeah.
Number 1 is to identify your fears. Identify your fears. So if you think about what is holding you back, why haven't you moved forward on the things that are in your heart and in your mind? So you write down 2 to 5 things that are holding you back, 2 to 5 things that you're afraid of. And then this thing is to know your strengths. A great way to do that is by creating an empowerment board. The way an empowerment board works is you ask 5 people that you know well. They can be your manager, your clients, your coworkers, your friends. Ask them to describe you with 5 positive words. And then take all those words and create a piece of artwork. Use a Wordle app or something like that to blend all those words into a beautiful piece of artwork, and then hang it someplace where you're going to see it often, so that when you're having one of those really tough days where nothing seems to be going right, you can look at that empowerment board and remind yourself about your strengths. And then you can feel great about yourself again. And then number 3 is to move outside of your comfort zone. And I want you to think about the comfort zone as a dead zone. Because when you're protected by your comfort zone, what means is that you don't ever stretch and grow. So you're so afraid of stepping outside of your comfort zone that you stay protected by the walls of your comfort zone. But the only way to truly grow is to stretch, to try something new, even before you feel like you're ready. And that brings us to number 4. And number 4 is to identify someone that you respect and admire in these 6 areas of your life. Super important to do this. This is by far my biggest confidence builder, is having people behind you, people who believe in you. Any other questions, Liz?
Nope, that was perfect. We can save the rest for Q&A. Thank you.
Okay. So if you don't have at least one name besides each of these areas of your life, that is your homework. That is your homework, to make sure you get 6 people. How many of you have heard this phrase before? That you will become like the 5 people that you spend the most time with. It's absolutely true. I want you to think about, who are those 5 people for you? You can think about at a time when you weren't stuck at home. So now it might be the 5 people that you talk to the most. But think about your world more broadly. Who are those 5 people that you spend the most time with? Go ahead and write down their names now. Make sure you don't have just the people you live with. Have it be broader than that. Then once you have the list of 5 people, your next step is to really review your list. Think about who those people are and how they impact you. Put a plus besides the names of the people who make you feel great. People who lift you up and inspire you and support you and believe in you and your dreams. People who give you positive energy. Put a plus beside those names. And you probably guessed this already, but the next step is to review your list. And if you have anyone on your list that robs you of your joy, who makes you feel less than, people who deplete you, people who you feel worse after seeing them than you did before you saw them, put a minus besides those names. Now, I'm not asking you to X anyone out of your life. I'm not asking you to get a divorce. I'm not asking you to do anything like that. What I'm asking you to do is put some distance between you and the negativity. Most of us have someone on that list that are dragging us down. If you've got negative people that you spend a lot of time with, they're holding you back. This is a tough one, especially for close friends and family. But really evaluate your inner circle. Do you have people that are holding you back? People who are negative and that are dragging you down? If you do, put some distance, put some time between you and that person. Number 5 is to convey confident body language. If you haven't listened to Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, I encourage you to do so. It is filled with information. It's also somewhat entertaining. It's comical because it's so true. It's so true. You're going to find yourself in this TED Talk. You'll see where you pop up and where you don't. She says, Amy Cuddy says, when you pretend to be powerful, you feel powerful. When you pretend. Think about it this way. When you smile, even if you don't already feel happy, you feel happier. Go ahead and smile with me right now. Just keep smiling. No matter where you are right now, just smile. You feel happier, right? So this is what Amy's talking about. Your body doesn't know the difference. So go ahead and pretend that you feel confident even when you don't, by displaying confident body language. Here's what I want you to do. The next time you aren't feeling confident, act like you do. Smile, sit and stand tall. When you walk into the room, when you actually can walk into that conference room again, act like you have a right to be there. When you're on your next virtual chat, remind yourself you're present because you have value to share. Act like you belong there, even if you don't feel as confident as you'd like. The more that you pretend to feel powerful, the more you'll start to feel powerful. Number 6 is to clarify your goals and to celebrate your wins. How many of you know that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals just from writing them down? And how many of you are doing it? It may sound super simple, but you'd be shocked how many people don't actually write down their goals. And then they're stressed and frustrated that they haven't achieved their goals. The first step is to actually write them down. I'm going to be kicking off a session in January every Tuesday from 12 to 1 Pacific time, and it's free. And it's all about kicking off your new year right. It's about goal setting and even moving past that. And then just as important as clarifying your goals is to celebrate your wins. All too often we have this long to-do list and we accomplish things, big or small, but we don't stop to celebrate. I encourage you to celebrate your accomplishments, big and small. And when you do that, it will create greater confidence, motivation, and energy. Number 7, establish a powerful morning routine. It all begins with your first 10 minutes in the morning. This is where all the magic happens, or where it doesn't. What do you usually do, right, as soon as you get out of bed? After you've gone to the bathroom, right? What do you usually do? You grab your phone, right? We all grab our phone and we go to email, we go to social media. And guess what happens when we do that? It hijacks our day because everybody wants something from you. Avoid that for the first 10 minutes of your day, just for the 10 minutes. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted, even if it's the bathroom. I know some of you are moms and you've got children at home, and now with distance learning, your day is even more hectic, but find 10 minutes where you won't be interrupted and focus on your goals. Focus on your goals. Visualize a life that you want, doing what you want, being who you want, and feeling like you want. And then journal your thoughts and what you're grateful for. This entire routine will only take you 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You're worth 10 minutes. Your dreams are worth 10 minutes. Number 8 is to demonstrate an attitude of gratitude. Usually in November, a lot of people do the practice gratitude on a daily basis. Gratitude needs to be practiced every day of the year. Our attitude doesn't have to be dependent upon our circumstances. We can rise above it, just like we've all done this year. We can rise above the noise. We can rise above the negativity. I learned a long time ago that no matter what, and I'm telling you, no matter what, there is always something to be grateful for. Sometimes we just have to look for it a little longer. You can be grateful that you got out of bed this morning, grateful that you're still employed, grateful that the sun rose this morning, grateful that the snow is falling, grateful that if you're this person, grateful that you got all of your presents bought and wrapped, grateful for the people that you live with. You can find in the smallest moments something to be grateful for. In my book, Not Just an Admin, in chapter 4, it's a whole chapter dedicated to this topic. And when you get it, you'll read about a really difficult time in my life and how the only way that I got through it is by practicing an attitude of gratitude. And just a quick warning, when you read that chapter, you're going to need a tissue. You're going to need a tissue to get through it. Number 9, accept compliments. So often, we don't accept compliments. Think about it. What do you say after somebody compliments you? Here's what I hear often. Oh, I was just doing my job. That job of yours as an administrative professional that is so deep, so wide. And when you say you were just doing your job, it's pushing the credit to somebody else. It's telling that person they were wrong. You're denying yourself of a moment to build your confidence. So instead, say thank you. Thank you. That's a great response to a compliment. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can say something like, thank you. I worked really hard on it and I appreciate the acknowledgement. That's what's going to build confidence. So when somebody compliments you, take it in. Say thank you. Words have power. Words have so much power. They have power to lift you up or to tear you down. Choose your words carefully. And I'm talking about the words that you speak and the words you think. It's time to upgrade your verbal software. Low self-confidence is often caused by the negative thoughts that are running through your mind on this endless loop, telling you all sorts of horrible things. You got to upgrade that verbal software from I'm not good enough to I'm moving on to I'm going to accomplish the things that I want to have in my life. You will become what you're preaching inside your head. So choose your words carefully. I've already covered 2 of my 7 ways to silence the negative voices in your head. Here are 5 more. I encourage you to at least choose one of the things that I've given you today to silence the negative thoughts. So number 1, switch it to a positive affirmation. The next time you hear that negativity in your head, switch it to that positive affirmation. Immediately do that. Instead of seeking approval from your career or from others, seek self-approval. Don't rely on what others think. Self-affirmations are brief. They are brief, positive statements about yourself. They are strength-based and known truths. You're not saying something that you don't believe. You're saying the truth here. Number 2 is to smile, to get that positive energy. Squash negative thoughts by smiling in the moment. So here's what you do. You smile and you say, thank you. Thank you for showing me that I still have work to do in this area of my life. Thank you for telling me that I still have work to do to change my mindset. The smile is what changes the energy from that moment of feeling negative to positive. Think about what positive outcome you can learn from that negative thought. It helps you to understand what you want to take with you and what you want to leave behind. Number 3 is to give your inner critic a ridiculous name. I told you earlier, call it a negative Nelly, right? This can be a game changer. So when I catch my inner critic talking to me and saying something like, "You're sucking at life today, Peggy," I say, "Cheers for that, Nelly. It's not really terribly helpful right now." It just helps me to talk back to that negative voice so that you can push it away and then get back to going after what you were doing when that negative thought came in. I want you to think about that negative thought as a person who's standing right beside you, hinged to you, spewing out that negative thought. How long would you let a person stand right next to you saying negative things to you? That's what that negative voice is in your head. So you wouldn't let that person stand there and spew negativity out at you. So stop letting your brain do it to you. Number 4 is to write down your thoughts. So when you take the time to write down your thoughts, you can move the emotion out of it. Just write down the facts about what you were thinking, and then look at it with a logical mindset and say, what is the likelihood of this thing actually happening? Because when you write it down, you can almost see how ridiculous it is. It's not a logical thing. Our fears are emotion-based. Number 5, the story doesn't need to happen. I love this. Tribe in Africa teaches their children to silence their fears when they worry about something dangerous happening to them. They teach your children when fearful thoughts come in to say, this is a story that doesn't need to happen. This is simple yet wonderful because it's a way to course correct any negative thought, any negative self-talk. It tells the brain to stop the story that's emerging, to halt, stop, no need to go further. Self-confidence, it's the foundation of all great success and achievement. You've got to have that to achieve your goals. You've got to have that to get promoted. You've got to have that for happiness. So channel your self-confidence. Channel your self-confidence. A lack of self-confidence is the biggest blocker. It's the biggest blocker. Whenever you hear your inner voice putting yourself down, talk out loud to yourself and say in the present tense a phrase about yourself that states the opposite of what you're feeling. So for example, if you think you can't go in for a promotion because you're not worthy, say out loud, the out loud part is key. I am great at what I do and I'm overqualified to move ahead. Channel your self-confidence. As I told you earlier, that I truly believe the biggest way to build your confidence is by having a powerful inner circle. Here is a link to an inner circle worksheet. It's absolutely free. You can take a picture of this now. You can email me if you didn't get it. I'm happy to send that to you. And again, join me to your best year yet. It begins on January 5th. It's from 12 to 1 Pacific time. It's absolutely free. It's time to reflect, refresh, and renew you. And then I also encourage you to check out my empowerment shop, my speaking topics, and individual customized coaching program. You can find out everything you need to know at my website, peggyvasquez.net. And with that, Liz, I turn it back to you for any questions that we may have.
Yes, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And we do have several questions. I will pull these up here. And guys, as we're doing Q&A, we do have just about 20 minutes. So drop your questions in the chat. We'll get to them. We also have some questions from viewers that submitted the survey. So we'll start there. Okay. First up. Peggy, what was the personal journey like in mastering your current role? Current role as speaker, coach, best-selling author.
Goodness. So in case you're not aware, I retired from my day job of being a chief executive assistant on January 20th. And as you know, COVID hit shortly after that. So my biggest challenge this year, you've probably heard the saying about be careful what you ask for. It was a year to really remind myself that this is what I want, even if it's super tough, even if it causes self-doubt, even if it means purchasing all sorts of new equipment to be able to do virtual workshops and just putting myself out there to make it work. It was not easy. It was not easy, but I know that each of us could say that for this year. It was a lesson in being resilient and continuing to believe in myself, even when the work wasn't there, but preparing for it like it was there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It was tough. It was tough. It's still tough, but I'm learning and growing, and I'm so much more prepared now than I've ever been before.
Well, I think that's great advice too, is that it's very, and we talk about this in almost every base live, it's so hard to focus on what's hard right now. And it's so easy to focus on what's hard right now.
Yes. Instead of positive.
Yes, exactly. So I think everything that you have walked through in this presentation really provides some great advice as to how to overcome that. One of our folks that asked a question in the survey said, "Hi, Peggy, I've just accepted a fantastic job offer with a significant salary increase, but now I'm terrified. How can I shake the feeling that I somehow oversold my competence during the interview and won't be able to live up to expectations?"
Oh my gosh, this is classic. This is so
I know,
classic.
right?
Yes, because I mean, first of all, I've so been there. I've been there. I mean, I've been there in my past role and in my current role. But I'm telling you, if you ace that interview enough for them to have hired you and they offered that, there's no doubt that you are worth it. There's no doubt at all. They're not doubtful. Understand, they are not doubtful. They are expecting you to deliver. So go back to your capability set and see what you're doing. Do that empowerment board. Ask people that know you well. Ask them to describe you. Think about your last annual review. What did your manager say about you? Think about when people ask you to be involved, when you get asked to be on this committee or for this project, why do they always ask you to be involved? What is your main contribution? And just do that inventory to remind yourself of all your capability set. I strongly doubt that you oversold yourself. I strongly doubt that. I mean, for you to do that, you would have had to have told some untruths. And I just don't believe you did that. I believe you're just feeling doubtful because you've got this huge increase that you've never had. But just because you weren't paid that before does not mean you're not worth it. It just means the opportunity wasn't there, but it is now. So congrats to you. Congrats to you. That's so awesome.
I love that. I think I'd love to ask everyone too, how often when you have a win, is one of the first thoughts in your mind, I get like, I feel sick. I get like a sinking feeling in my gut. And I'm like, do I deserve this?
Yes.
Did I do something wrong? Or I'm thinking there has to be something else going wrong right now. Like, why
Mhm.
do even before I had kids, I would do that. Like, I don't know why we do that.
Yes. I think it's just about our self-doubt and
Mm-hmm.
not getting to that point where we're cocky or arrogant, but really taking stock of who we are and what we have to bring to the table and being solid. And here's my strengths, here's my capabilities. I'm basing this on all the things I've delivered over my career. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
basing this on what I could do if somebody gave me the opportunity. I'm basing it on this is my true experience.
Right.
When you look at that, you can't really argue with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's there or it's not there.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah.
We have another good question from our survey. And folks, if you come up with a question, drop them in the chat. We'll get to them. And this assistant asked, what would your best advice what would be your best advice for an admin working with the chief of staff? I've been within my organization for quite some time, more than the chief of staff, but they are more of the executive's right hand strategy. We usually collaborate very well together, but I struggle to be confident in my ideas sometimes and feel that because she's chief of staff, her suggestions are always right. How do I become more assertive without creating a rift?
So I've been there as well, and it can be really difficult. Number one, make sure you have clear roles and responsibilities so that there isn't that overlap or confusion. Do as much as you can to team with that person so that you're showing respect and value to them. And then typically, the way we treat others, they treat us back. So you're showing them respect and value, they show you respect and value. Do whatever you can to create it to be a triangle with the chief of staff, you as the assistant, whatever your title might be, whether you're a chief executive assistant, an EA, an admin, whatever it is. Create that triangle between the executive assistant, and the chief of staff, so that you're all having those weekly meetings together. You're all in the same loop. You're sharing information. You're propping them up. Then hopefully they're going to be propping you up. A good way that you can do, when you talk about that their idea is always the right one, I think that you must be saying then that you're also not feeling as valued with the ideas that you're sharing. So add them on to her great idea. So she
Mm-hmm.
offers an idea and the exec agrees and say, in addition to that, we could also do XYZ, but just use positive language. It can be a tricky triangle. Keep it professional. Keep it professional. If you start to show any type of emotion with that partnership, it's not going to serve you well. And I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah. And I think that, as most of y'all know, I'm a marketer and I still, anyone can deal with that with any peer or colleague. So I think that's great advice. And for assistants in particular, I know we've talked about this a lot, but we have our 30-day challenge at Base, and the whole challenge is geared towards aligning to executive goals and OKRs, objectives and key results. And for this particular assistant that asked this question, I think it would be great for you to have your own direct line of communication around what's most important to the executive, and gives you that strategic lens and opportunity to have your own dedicated support outside of the chief of staff. And I'll drop that link in there for you guys too. So that way, make sure you get it on both YouTube and Facebook. So that way, y'all have it. But yeah, I think that's definitely great advice. It's a balance between, injecting how you provide strategy within your workflow and not trying to replace those who also support and or work with your executive.
Exactly. And you can do that in a really simple way too. You can do it by asking a question on a frequent basis. Asking a question as simple as, what are your top 3 priorities for the day?
That's in the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, you just ask that question so that you're in the know of what's the most important thing for that executive that day. And then, of course, you're aligning yourself with that priority to help your executive make sure that happens.
Totally. And another thing we've had feedback on that's been helpful too, that we've added to the challenge is what would make asking your executive maybe at the end of the week, what would make next week, now I'm making it sound more complicated.
Next week, how can I make next week even more successful? Something like that.
Yeah, something, how would you feel successful next week? Like what would be completed, could be completed that would make you feel successful?
Mm-hmm.
It's already it's only Tuesday and I'm stumbling over my words, guys. But it's in the 30-day challenge.
Yes.
But I know that Paige, our CEO, her executive assistant, Natalie, asks me that. And then Jeremy, our co-founder and head of product, that each week. And we have a leadership roundup. And I get that every Monday morning. And it's so awesome because I get to see what the leadership team, what we're all focused on for the week and what would feel like winning for the week. And so that's something that you guys can do too if you're working alongside a chief of staff, to have your own piece of value that you provide. That's something you could do as well.
Right. And I think another area where assistants will struggle is when they are invited in to have a seat at the table, whether it's virtually or in person, to the leadership team meeting, to the meeting where the top execs are, or a manager and their direct reports are. And they feel that they don't have anything to share during the lightning round. During the round table, all the execs are going around the room and they're all talking about something that's happening that week. And I've heard a lot of assistants say that they don't know what to share, that they feel silly, that what are they going to do? Talk about expense reports and scheduling and calendar management. And I've told them that is their moment to shine. Mm-hmm. That is their moment. And so think about what are the things that you've been involved in that seem so secondary to you, but those direct reports of your manager, they have no idea about. Mm-hmm. So maybe your manager is meeting with someone who is going to have the opportunity to bring in funding to the organization. They're going to want to know that. Or somebody is going to be changing policy, or about a all staff message that's going to be coming out that coming week, or about a reminding people that their goals are due by the end of the week. Something that you can say that basically helps to manage the entire group or share information with the entire group that they wouldn't have known. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering, but it's informative. It's helpful.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. If there are any other questions you guys would like to ask Peggy, feel free to drop them in the chat. Please go ahead. And I would just like to let everyone know that we will be sending a follow-up email, and I'll include all the resources that Peggy has walked us through today. Her website, her brand new website, if I can brag about it for you for a moment, is wonderful. So that's also on the event landing page. But I'll make sure to send that in the follow-up as well. And Peggy, is there anything else? There were a couple folks that asked about your goal setting workshops and where they can find more.
Yes. So if they go to my website, it's my name, peggyvasquez.net. On the home page, if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see it's right there, your best year yet. It's time to renew, refresh, and rejuvenate you. You'll see right there, you click that link and then you can get registered. And again, it's free, and it's going to be 1 hour from 12 to 1 Pacific time. And it goes through the very first week. It's going to be more about discovering what you want. Then it'll be how to voice it, how to frame it. It'll have all sorts of different worksheets. Then you're going to refine your goals, because you're going to brainstorm about a long list, and then you're going to refine it. And then the very last week will be about developing a weekly plan, because as we all know, it's got to be written down. It's got to be on your calendar, because what isn't written down and what isn't scheduled doesn't happen. So that's the last week. It would be great to have you there. We've got, I think it's around 100 plus people that are registered. And what is great about that is you're going to learn from the community, just like you do with BASE. And Liz, if I could just shout out to you, you are a pleasure to work with. You make things so easy and comfortable. And I think the world of all the work that you and all your colleagues are doing at BASE, helping administrative professionals be all that they can be. And we just need more people like you that are committed to this community and helping them to be successful. So I appreciate you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I, of course, echo all of that right back at you. I think that this has been, I've said this a few times on these live events, but I was a consultant with BASE and I like said to Paige one day, I want to work for you full time. Like, I just think that that's such a wonderful team. And I think that the assistant community is so empowering and supportive. And so this has been great. And with our live events that we've been doing, guys, we have a formal calendar now, so you guys can check that out. I will drop that in the comments because I know we've just been kind of cranking them out after our summit, but we formalized it into a calendar for all of you to have.
Very cool.
So I'll drop that there. But Peggy, thank you so much. This has been wonderful, and I hopefully we can have you back in the new year.
Oh, thank you. I would love to. Happy holidays, everyone.